I will give a presentation on behalf of the World Health Organization on accelerating universal health coverage in Africa. And I will mainly focus on the framework that we as the World Health Organization in the African region have developed on how to move forward universal health access in the context of the SDGs. Next slide, please. Oh, all right. Thank you. So the outline of my presentation, I will give a very quick overview of the Global Development Agenda. I will highlight a few concepts on universal health coverage, which obviously the Minister has done a lot of, so I'll just pick up a few points. And then I will talk a bit about the emerging health issues and challenges in Africa, which makes it critical for us to use universal health coverage as a way forward. And then I will highlight the new strategy of the World Health Organization, which we call the 13 WHO Global Program of Work, because it's one of the drivers for the World Health Organization in moving forward with universal health coverage. And then I'll talk a bit about the regional framework and what it means for the region to be able to move forward. The Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi, has, I think I almost thought of saying, well, since the Minister has basically given my presentation, maybe I should sit. But I reckon I will not have earned my right to come, and I think Professor Suleiman may not be very happy with me. So I will still talk, but I think I'll give a slightly different perspective from what the Minister has said. It's still the same message, but I think I will highlight a few technical components and propose ways for moving forward in some of the issues that he has raised. He talked quite a bit about the South Africa health system and some of its challenges and issues. And this framework that I will talk a bit about tries to actually address some of those issues and the way forward. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I think I'm going to hand over the slides to Professor Suleiman. Thank you. So the first slide, which the Minister did highlights the Sustainable Development Goals, some key messages, so I won't go into a lot of detail about it. But three key messages to highlight. You know, we moved from the Millennium Development Goals, which were largely focused on diseases and addressing them, which we agreed was critical. But the SDGs move us to a new way of looking at things that focuses more holistically and addresses not only the health issues, but the social, economic, and environmental pillars of development. So it takes a developmental perspective. They are more integrated and indivisible, ensuring that we're addressing issues at all levels, in all countries, and at all levels. So they are not just focusing on developing countries. And third, they are about leaving no one behind, which the Minister highlighted. So equity is at the center, and particularly addressing the needs of those who are disadvantaged. Next slide, please. And this slide again highlights what Dr. Motsoaledi was saying. At the center of the SDGs, when you look at health in the SDG era, is actually the third SDG on good health and well-being. So the health SDG. Because health is a result of what we will do or what is happening in the other areas that are addressed by the other 16 SDGs. And also, if we have a healthy population, as the Minister highlighted, we will actually be able to address the other SDGs. So basically, health is at the core And therefore, the whole concept of universal health access is critical for development, for us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. This slide highlights the SDG 3 and tries to show how we'll be moving from the unfinished business of the MDGs, which were disease-focused, and beginning to add some of the issues which the minister was talking about, addressing MDG, addressing NCDs, addressing the issues to do with substance abuse, mental health, etc. And then thirdly, how it's actually to be measured. Next slide, please. This slide highlights the different targets. So basically the same concept. So you have the SDG 3. It's got its own targets and ways of measuring, but you can see clearly that there's interlinkage with the targets in the other different SDGs. So poverty, hunger, and all that is closely linked. And so we cannot measure progress in the health MDGs if you don't take into account the other MDGs. Next slide, please. This slide then, I'm moving to universal health coverage and how it will accelerate health. And this highlights the essential and parallel synergistic interventions that need to be carried out for us to be able to move towards universal health coverage. So on the right is the cube, which we use showing how we can move towards universal health coverage. So we need to address to extend coverage to those who are not covered, which the minister highlighted quite a lot. We need to make sure we look at the comprehensiveness of the services that were provided and the quality. And then we need to address the strengthening the financial access and the financial risk protection mechanisms. Next slide, please. This slide just tries to highlight some of the emerging health issues for us as a region. So we know that we have the youth bulge, the demographic transition, but we also have our populations, because of improvement in our services, are getting older, people are living longer. So that introduces issues with regards to the demographic transition. The epidemiological transition, which the minister highlighted, we need to now address NCDs, but at the same time we still have very high levels of communicable disease. So we have the double burden of disease that we have to address. The social-cultural transition, and we saw with regards to Ebola, the challenges that we had because of the transition to modern practices, which then introduces unique challenges, and that one related to the issues of burial. The socio-economic transition, globalization is beginning to affect health, urbanization, the slow economic growth that South Africa is also beginning to struggle with, the issue of the middle-income country status, like South Africa. It introduces different issues, and it's challenging because we're still dealing with some of the issues that we expected to deal with as low-income countries, but as middle-income countries, you now have to deal with both situations. The health security threats with regards to outbreaks, which in certain situations are very high morbidity and mortality, conflict, and socio-economic disruptions that happen. And finally, what the minister talked about, the climate change, environmental threats, which are changing the epidemiology of diseases, and we're beginning to have disease in areas where we thought we had eliminated them. Next slide, please. This slide just tries to highlight again, the minister talked about the issue of human resources. So this shows, as you go from green down to red, it shows you the density of health workers. And we can see we have very few greens and a lot of reds and yellows in our region. So as a region, as Africa, we have major challenges with availability and even quality of human resources. Next slide, please. And then the minister talked a lot about the issue of impoverishing effects of finance, catastrophic expenditures. So this slide tries to highlight that. And you can see the expenditures indicated on the left. So as it gets darker, the out-of-pocket expenditure, if you can go back to the previous slide, thank you. As you go darker, the increase in the out-of-pocket contributions. And you can see for our region, there is a lot of dark. Yes, we have some countries, including South Africa down there, which are a bit lighter, but we have a major issue with impoverishing effects of related to financing. Next slide, please. And again, this slide is just trying to show on the left, on the vertical axis, it's showing the coverage, service coverage in the different countries, lower and then higher coverage. And then on the x-axis, it's showing out-of-pocket payments. And you can see we need to move towards the right and up. And we can see we have a few countries up there where we ensure that we have high coverage and low out-of-pocket payments. But we have quite a few countries where we need to push or we need to move for us to be able to be in that situation that we encourage universal health coverage. Next slide, please. This slide I won't go into detail, but it just highlights how the World Organization is now taking the SDGs, it's taking the concept of universal health coverage to be at the core of its strategy. So this global program of work, which covers 5 years, is now focusing on people. So the triple billions which we're focusing is actually about the number of people whose health improves. And that relates to advancing universal health coverage, so 1 billion more people. So that's in addition to those people who are currently benefiting from universal access. The World Health Organization would like in the next 5 years to be able to have worked with countries to have 1 billion more people. And then the other areas include health emergencies and promoting healthier populations. So the World Health Organization has put universal access at the core of its work. And the work that we do with countries is to ensure that we move in that direction. Next slide, please. I've talked about the UHC and SDG framework that the African region has developed, and you could hear from the minister's presentation that a lot of the core issues I will highlight were already being talked about to the minister. Next slide, please. So this is the framework, and basically it builds on the building blocks, the health systems building blocks. So we start off with inputs that are linked to the different areas of the building blocks, starting from national and subnational service delivery systems, and addressing the other components, including infrastructure and others. Okay, so the inputs are a critical starting point. And then the outputs of the health system, which measures the performance. And the 4 dimensions, they include the access to essential services, the quality of services, and other aspects. So it's critical that we look at these as we think through how we move with universal access. And then the next level focuses on the outcomes. So the health security, protecting the health, universal coverage, and other aspects. So I'm just highlighting, and it includes also the quality and acceptability of services. And then finally looking at the impact, and focusing on the health, lives, and well-being of people. And here we now are saying we need to actually be tracking and seeing that we are having a change in life expectancy and other aspects. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So this gives the framework. And as part of the framework, it has been agreed that by 2030, as the minister was saying, we need to make sure that at least 80% of member states in Africa have health systems that are performing optimally for effective delivery of essential services. And all members at least have 80% of the population using an essential package of health services. And finally, all members have in place the investments. And you remember the minister talked about the issue of the investments, that we have to have smart investments in areas where we actually make a difference. Next slide, please. I won't go through this slide in detail, but this chart just shows the milestones in those areas, the commitments that have been made by the African region in terms of moving forward with universal health access, health coverage. Next slide, please. The next 2-3 slides just try to highlight and pick up on what the minister was talking about, that we have to invest in the right place to really be able to move forward with a focus on outcomes and not just delivering interventions. So what that means, we know that one of the challenges we've had with delivery of systems in our region has been that most of the health system investments have not been well linked with outcomes. And secondly, the investments have often been done vertically, which obviously in certain situations is positive. We know we made a lot of progress with HIV, but if we just continue pushing investments vertically, we will have a problem that the interlinkages are not strong enough, and then we have challenges with cross-cutting system performance measures that ensure that we're focusing on the health of the whole population and not just one area. And therefore, the framework proposes that we ensure system investments in areas where it focuses on outcomes and not investments as an end in itself, or just delivering interventions without focusing on what difference it will make in the health of the population. And then also ensuring that we are cross-cutting performance areas that countries can assess. In this way, we are able to avoid the silo approach that we're struggling with. In this slide, which again I won't go into a lot of detail about, but it then shows how we need to make sure that when countries are investing, we're not just investing, in interventions and delivering services, but we make sure that, which are the inputs, is linked to the outputs, is linked to the outcomes, and is clearly linked to the impact domain target. So we really are focusing on ensuring that we increase life expectancy, and we're talking about quality life. We ensure that we're reducing morbidity and mortality at the end of the day, and then we're reducing risk factors and their impact. And make sure that it's very clear that as we invest, we will actually make this difference. Next slide. And finally, this slide then just highlights that even now as we monitor universal health access, universal health coverage, we need to make sure that we address this whole spectrum, this holistic approach, where we are not just focusing on measuring the interventions that we have delivered. So you can see at the top, it shows we need to make sure we're looking at both the inputs, the outputs, the outcomes, and the impact. And the framework highlights the indicators in each of the domains that need to be addressed and measured. And it's very clear that we need to use multiple sources of data for us to be able to do this. Not just health data, but also data that measures the other SDGs and how they are contributing to health, so that we can really track how well we are doing with moving towards universal health coverage and making sure that we'll actually be able to make a difference. So I think the last slide is the final one. So thank you very much.